morning, everybody, and welcome to Secure the Bag with Casper. My name is Pamela Mtanga, and I am your host for today. Are we all excited to be here today? Yeah, more excited to learn about the ins and outs of the industry, more like the back end. Now, Secure the Bag with Casper is a partnership between Casper Nyovest and, of course, Liberty to bring financial education into the arts, sports, and entertainment industry. Now, whether you are a musician, you are an A&R, you're an artist, you're a person who is an influencer, or anything in between, and even someone who's aspiring to be an artist in the near future, this is for you. It's for you to be empowered to keep doing what you're doing, but also embark on a financial education journey where you are going to be financially free and also build generational wealth. Now, generational wealth is something new to some of us, isn't it? Generational wealth, because we are some of the first in our families to drive a certain type of car, to live in a certain type of place, or to be in the certain type of businesses or workspaces that we're in. We are the first in our family. So that is why today is really important, that now that we've kind of made it within our industry, how do we further make sure that we keep the bag and for our future generations? Now, we're going to get into this topic at like an in-depth level. So before I officially kick off, I'd like to welcome my co-host for today. He is a man who is no stranger to business, who's no stranger to music. He is a mogul in my eyes, and I hope you guys can agree. And he's the reason why we're here. You said yes. I love that. I love that. He's a mogul in my eyes because he's contributed so much for the industry, but also has maintained a clean brand that is marketable to other brands so that he's able to maintain his wealth. I don't know how much is in his pocket, but I think he's wealthy. With all the chains and watches, the chains and watches say something, because if you don't talk about your money, your watch is going to speak, honey. You know what I'm saying? Please give a round of applause for Casper Nyovest. So today he's here as my co-host.
I'm okay. My name is Refilo Maele, aka Casper Nyovest. Today we are at Secure the Bag, which is a concept that I worked on with my partner from Bridge Entertainment, Lerato. We've been working on it for almost over a year. The concept started with us going through the COVID period. I think we're still going through it, but at that time when it was locked down and we're not making any income, there was a lot of people who were asking me questions of how I survived or how we survived. So we thought that it was very important for us to engage with our peers, engage with people who are in our industry and share the information. It wasn't easy. There's a lot of lessons that we learned as well in that period, and we just wanted to share that with people who are interested in hearing about it, because getting on Twitter is very tricky, because sometimes you want to share information but you are sitting in a pool of
negativity. Yeah.
So we wanted to invite a few people that are interested in what we wanted to speak about. I hope that we touch on subjects that you want to hear about. I hope that we'll get informative answers. I'm not here as an artist today. I'm also here as a student and a teacher. I think there's a few things that I can share as well. So welcome to Secure the Bag. Thank you so much for honoring our invite. So who are we going to have first?
No, call up your friends.
This is not my friend. This is a legend, someone that I learn a lot from. His name is Oscar Mjongwa, a.k.a. Oskido, one of the most successful, most sustained businessman, artist that we've ever had in South Africa. And I think nothing that is entertainment in South Africa starts without this man. So can we please, a round of applause.
Welcome.
You can say anyway.
Yeah, we're going to welcome all of them.
And then next we have a young lady by the name of Sibuma Bena. She actually started with us a long time ago. Yeah, as an intern, and then today she owns one of the most successful PR companies.
A round of
Ladies and
applause for
gentlemen, Lisa
Sibo.
Bumabelo. And then we also have, because we also have to get into more serious issues, we also have an accountant from KPS. His name is Peter. Yes, he works with my accountant. I didn't want him to be here because they'll ask him questions like, how much money do I have? And I don't have. Round of applause for Peter. And then we also have two representatives from Liberty, which is our partner, our official partner today. They are our sponsors. Without them, we wouldn't have been able to put this together. So please welcome Brian Mabe and Lerato Sebata. And then last but not least, we have a good friend of mine who started as a DJ. Now he's a label manager and what is that? Are you still an A&R? An A&R label manager? He was a radio DJ. He did so much. You know, he's responsible for a lot of the SA hip hop that started in the beginning. His name is DJ Vigilante. VG. Right now he's at UMG, Universal Music Group. So whenever I need an advance and I don't have money, the guy I talk to. I think as a start, I would like to give Oskido the platform to just kind of give us a foundation of how he started and where do you start, because he's one of the people that actually gave me the game. That's how I started. He gave me also forecast of the predicaments and the mistakes to avoid. I remember when I bought my first Bentley, I went to his house. And I was so excited to show Oskido my car. And I was like, yo, man, check this out. He was like, no, Casper, I want to see bricks.
Yes.
Where's your house? So, you know, he planted that seed in my brain, and I had to work so hard to invite Oskido to my first house. And when it happened, he was like, you see, now you can do whatever that you want to do. So, if you could just give us an intro, basically the foundation of where did you start and how you would start a record label or a media business.
Yeah. Hello. Negrand. Yeah. Well, thanks for putting this into an.
Thank you.
So cool. And it's good that we need to tell our stories and educate our stories. And thank you very much for this initiative. For me, I think it started as a passion, a dream, because I think all of us, we get into certain spaces, you know, because there's something which is burning within us. So for me, I think it started when I saw a movie. The movie is called Beat Street. It's a hip-hop movie. It was done in the States. So the movie talks about the kids in the Bronx. For those who don't know the Bronx, it's a ghetto which is, the New York ghetto, Fanana Soweto. So therefore, the movie, it's about the culture. It was about the graffiti painting, breakdancing. So when I saw that movie, and later when I saw those kids, this is when I saw the power of what culture and art could do. So later, those kids, just to fast forward on that movie, they ended up, from the ghetto, they ended up sitting in the boardrooms of New York, making financial decisions in the business district. And I say that I want to be that kid. So my life, when I'm living, it's always been saying that this is what, I always go back to that movie. And that's how my story started, because I went to a journey where then from there I said, I'm going to live that life. One day I'm going to sit in the boardrooms of the music industry, entertainment industry, and make decisions. And I've reached that point because I make decisions.
Yay.
As a label, we can detect of what's going on. But to fast forward, without that dream, with all these dreams, you're always going to have a challenge. But when you have that challenge, you must make sure that there is discipline, which you have. Because, you know what, when something closes, it mustn't pull your dream down. You must know that another door is going to open. So you must keep going. So I remember when, because when we started, we came in an era when the bubblegum music was big, you know, Opera Chico were big, Voices Brenda were big and all that. So the music which we're doing, no one believed in us. And we're done. It's about time to listen to Boom Shaka. It was more R&B, you know, kind of with a ragga feel on its soulful stuff, because that's the stuff we're listening to. And went to a record label, you know, EMI to come and sign us, but they refused. All the majors, they said, no, this wasn't going to work, because we had a cassette, you know, they said it wasn't going to work. And, you know, our hopes were dashed. But the burning desire, when you know that this is what's going to work, you keep going. We kept going, we pressed the cassettes, we found a place, a pressing plant, and we had to press about, say, 500 tapes. And those tapes went in the street. It was myself, Pradon Laka, and Christos. And then from there, we started selling them from the boot of our cars. So we used to go playing at universities, you know, promoting the music, you know. Actually, we were the first quieter group at that time to, because me and Christos were already big in the scene in terms of DJing. So we're the first guys to go in with a group to perform, you know, using a backtrack. Of course, because people were used to playing live music. And we're being criticized for that. But what happened is that the youth culture of that time started to embrace the music. And the music started selling. And then from there, we had more demand. From 500 tapes, we started getting 1,000, 10,000 tapes. Until one day, you know, we got a huge order. And this is when the majors recognized us. Then they came in, they say, come, let's talk. But remember that right now, they had closed the door. Little did they know that by closing that door, they were teaching us the knowledge of the music business. So when we came in, when we met them, EMI, I remember going there. I'm sure I always tell that story. Then I found that, you know, in the reception, they knew my name, who I was, Oskido, you know, who, everything. And when I went there, you know, it was a room, you know, the cakes and all that stuff. Can you see this? When you came in here, you saw what happened, what Casper did. Yeah, so, you know, it was like that. But I remember this is the reception which I went there and I stood for almost 8 hours. But right now I was treated like a king.
Wow.
And then I just said, wow. What is happening? So we went in then in that room. I was with Pradon Laka at that time. And they said, no, you know, we want to sign you. Do you understand? We said, but you sign us as what? What are the deal terms? No, we want to sign you as artists because we're going to help with your marketing. We said, no. Already, why you are calling us here? Our tapes are selling because our underground marketing is working. Remember, there was no radio. We didn't get any support from anything, but it was through the street bashes and all that stuff. And we said, no, we've got the marketing, so you can't take the percentage of marketing. They say, no, we're going to help you to package. You know, when you sign with the record label, you know, the majors those days, they would take about, say, 10% on something called packaging. Packaging is putting up, you know, the sleeve and all that, you know. It's packaged. Like, for example, when you, this thing. It's called Casper. Where is the packaging?
They didn't pay.
They forgot. No, you see, he's a straight business guy, this guy. So anyway, it's well packaged, you know. But we say that our cassette is packaged because remember that little do they know that when they closed the door, they taught us that we must do a photo shoot. When you do a photo shoot, which means the album on the sleeve, it must have track listing. When it has track listing, it must have a barcode. Do you understand? So our cassette was well packaged. So when it came to that, then say, what do you mean by packaging? Because this is well packaged. It sells everywhere. Then they didn't know what to say, you know. Then from there, they started saying that, okay, we'll help you with the royalty system. Of course, we didn't have any royalty system. We'll get the money, we'll get the cash. It was a cash business. Lebu, twarangi, whatever. Of which we said, yeah, that you can help us with. But that doesn't mean that you can sign us, because we know. Because those days, remember that the older generation, which we recorded before us, they didn't own any studios. But we started owning bedroom studios that time because the technology had moved, and we had owning our masters. So when you record the music, remember at your studio, which means you own that master rights. Because we've paid for those master rights. Then
I'm sorry to disturb you.
Yeah.
What is a master? Because you're speaking as
Yeah.
people who know. So for someone who doesn't know, what is a master?
Well, you get to the studio, right? You record a song, and then when you finish that song, you know what I'm saying, you mix it, right? And then that song, when you have all those tracks together mixed and mastered, right? Then from there, you've got the product. So which means that, now you are owning the master. But because that song was recorded at a certain studio, someone paid for the expense of the recording. There's electricity bills and everything. It's recorded, do you understand? So that's why most of the record labels, they sponsor that. They'll bring a producer and give you an end product. So when that end product is done, it's a master. So therefore, we're owning our masters. So therefore, to fast forward the conversation straight, we said, no, you can't sign us with a thing. Do you understand? Because we've got the rights of all this stuff. You can't give us because we know what we are doing. Then from there, they couldn't answer. Then from there, they say, then what do you want? Then we realized that time that, remember we're selling tapes by ourselves. Say, for example, if we send someone, there's someone who needs 1,000 tapes, go Debian, right? And then when he calls that person, which means you have to pay for hotel, you have to pay for transportation, you have to pay for, a lot of things. By the time that person comes back, those 1,000 cassettes, the only profit you make is 200. Because most of it has gone on expenses. I think this is what this conference is all about, financial education. Because remember, it's overhead, so you have to pay for most of this stuff. Then we realized that what was messing our business was the distribution, right? Of which we say that if only we're the distributor, then we'll be able to make good profit. Then we told them that, no, from you guys, because all this stuff we have, to understand what we need from you is distribution. Then EMI said, no, we cannot give. It's never been done in this country, whatever. They need to consult. Remember that all these majors, they make decisions out there overseas, So they had to call London, They said, okay, they left. And I remember I was with Praton, because he was coming, is more old school, He was saying, no, Oskido, you're missing this thing, man. But to advance, man, What you've got to Praton. Let's hear what you're saying, right? And when they came back, they said, okay, International is agreed. So they gave us a deal. They call it P&D, Press and Distribute. They gave us the distribution deal. They got 20%, we got 80%. And for me, that was a phenomenon, that was the change of the South African music as the youth culture, of which that negotiation today has opened the doors for a lot of people. If we didn't stand our ground and say, this is what we want, we're not going to get. And I think that from what's happening right now, when I see the growth of the music industry, him owning his own thing, all these guys owning their own thing, because after that, Bo Black Coffee came in, Bo Tira, through this deal which we had negotiated. Because from that time, this is when Tira came in, hey, Grootman, I want to be in the music business, how do we do it? Then I say, no, come in, we've got a deal like this, you can stay at Afrotainment, do you understand? They started licensing their music via Kalawa, because we had a bigger percentage. When Black Coffee came in, hey, Grootman, I can't do anything, whatever. He came in, that's how we brought in Solistic, the first 3 records which Black Coffee released, he licensed them via us. So then the cake was bigger for all of us to share. But when you share that, having ownership for me is the key. So there, I think what's important is don't undersell yourself. If someone says that this thing is not working, go out there. If you feel strong enough that it's going to work, they'll close that door, another door is going to open for you.
Love that. You know what? I think from everything that you said, I'm now interested in hearing from you. Because you, based on the foundation that he laid in his career, where he almost didn't know anything and they were pretty much starting everything from the ground. Some things were never seen before. And you came into that, right?
Yeah.
And I think one of the things that you're known for is the fact that you own your music, you're your own boss. How did then the distribution
Yeah.
thing happen? Because we don't understand it, because
Yeah.
now you're working with a Universal Music Group, but at the same time, you're saying you're the boss.
Yeah.
How?
So my story is actually very similar, and
Yeah.
he's right in saying that Kalawa opened doors for us. We had an example. Unfortunately, some of the guys who came before us didn't have the examples like Oskido to learn from.
Yeah.
So a lot of them signed a lot of bad contracts, and they ended up not, dying, not owning their music. They ended up in such bad financial states. But through learning about Kalawa, we were able to basically do the same thing. If I give you a little bit of a summary of what happened with me, we came from Mufftown, wanting to own our music, like we learned from Oskido, Jay-Z. It's the same thing. Like Rockefeller and Kalawa is the same thing. So it got so hard that I also wanted to give up. I wanted to sign to Sony at that point, and they wanted to give me 300,000 as an advance, and I was so broke that I almost took the deal. But there were two things that I couldn't agree to. One of them being that they wanted to own my master. Secondly, they wanted to change my name. So they wanted me to drop in your vest because they said it sounded like a swear word. So they just wanted to call me Casper. I was like, no, that's not gonna work. And they wanted to make me like a male version of Toya DeLazy. If you remember that time she was making pop.
Oh.
And because of my ponytail, they were like, yeah, we could do the same thing, pump it up. So I was like, this is not gonna work for me, And I remember WHP that time was telling me, yo, man, like it's a good deal because he put the deal together for me, and I couldn't take the deal. And then from there, I got another deal from Motif, which was gonna allow me to own my masters after 3 years. So basically, I was going to pay back the money that they would advance me for the album. And it was a great deal. And then we had 180,000, I think, as an advance. I remember me and Tilly going to the meeting to sign the contract. And on my way there, I said, Tilly, I don't want to sign the contract. And Tilly's my partner. He's the guy who owns Bridge Entertainment. Today, we're still partners. And he said, man, if you feel like we can do this on our own, and I'm with you, So we get there, everybody's smiling. They thinking we're about to sign. And we're like, nah, actually, we're going to do this on our own. And I started a company, and I started a record label, which is basically the foundation of everything. A lot of people say they have record labels, but they have logos. That's all they have.
And the name.
They design a record, yeah.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
if you say you own a record label, you have to actually own a company
Yeah.
that has to be registered. You have to have your tax
tax
in
number.
order. You need to have a bank account. You have to have an MOI. You have to do all of those things. It's a business. You don't just, develop a logo and say, I have a record label. So we went and did that, and basically started performing for funds for this album, my first album to be released. And we went and looked for a distribution deal. And one of the people who actually helped me with the distribution is Oskido.
Oh, man.
Actually, yeah.
You know what? Because I don't have time, but I would love to tell that story, right?
Yeah.
So then what happened is that I had this song now. So I used to see Casper, because what I used to like, I didn't know much about him. There was a lot of these hip-hop things happening. Who's that guy who passed on who was doing pop bottles? Dimples. So I saw this kid, Ponytail, he's performing this track, Doc Shebeleza, I'm saying, wow, Then from there, but this song I hear it now, it's playing on radio, right? Mm-hmm. Doc Shebeleza, then I say, gee, but that's the kid I met. And then from there, I connected with him. I said, who is distributing your music? And Casper said, no one. And I said, okay, let's do a deal. What happened is that, we're going to put you up. You know what? You own, I think it was 80. Yeah, you get 80% because I already done a distribution with the telcos, right? For Caller Tunes. We're going to put it on Caller Tunes to understand. And we also put it on iTunes. Do you understand? Because your music now, because him, when he was doing it, I think he was enjoying the song, just playing whatever. Do you understand? For me, it was more business. I said, you can make money on this. And then from there, finally he agreed. I said, okay, come and sign the contract. He didn't come. And I remember they'd made me a judge of X Factor. Actually, we signed the contract backstage when I was about, he came at, remember at, what's that casino? Monte Casino. He came with the contract.
Wow.
And we signed that contract. Wow. And then from there, boom, we put up this thing on iTunes. Within a week, his record was #1 on iTunes.
Oh, wow.
And this was
wow,
the beginning.
let's go.
Your best.
Thank you.
Sure. Hustler of not.
I was really
Ladies and
interested to
gentlemen,
talk about your TikTok career, but we'll get into it sometime.
That would have been great. Ladies and gentlemen, please make some noise for
Yes.
Oskido. A round of applause. I'm used to saying make some noise. I'm not used to.
Everybody say scream.
Yeah, I almost said everybody say scream. Unfortunately, he has to leave. But I wanted him to tell the story about the foundation of where do you start, because a lot of people have dreams or goals, but don't know where to start. So I think it's very important for us to know, equip ourselves with the knowledge of where to start. And I think I'd like to move on to Peter, because I want to talk about how you start a business, basically. It's more related to accounting. And what does it mean when you say you own a business, and where do you actually start?
My name is Peter. I'm an accountant. I'm from KPS Accounting. So I'm from what Mr. Casper has said so far, the foundation that has to be laid before you attempt a professional career in terms of opening the business and everything. So you, as an artist, we first have to look at your career. You need to treat your career as a professional career, and you need to put respect on that, because that's where your money is going to come from. And secondly, you need to be able to split the income from an individual perspective and being professional and opening the business so that you can be able to manage your funds. Because we have a problem with mismanagement of funds. If you cannot be able to split the two categories, I'd put them. For example, if my money all came through as an artist into my bank account, I cannot then realize the company's expenses, which make me what I am, and they bring in the jobs that would continue to give us a very successful career and for us to boom and to also grow in the business. So how do we start business? We need to have legal representatives. We need to have lawyers and accountants for these professional services, so that all the little in the contracts, all the details that you might miss as an individual. If you have somebody who's a professional, they can validate all the information, just like Oskido has just mentioned with the contracts and everything and how all that goes. You can't just sign a contract because something is given to you on the table. You have to have a legal representative. So we need to take our careers very important, and we need to respect them to be very professional in our businesses.
Okay, so when I say I want to start a business, where do I go to say, this business is mine?
Okay, you have to first patent your rights at the South African CIPC services. So that's where the accountants come in. You can either have an agent as an accountant coming in to help you with the procedure of CIPC, your registrations on SARS to have you filed on time, properly have a tax clearance for the business as well. And also the expenditures and salaries and wages that people get on a monthly basis. You can't just take money from the business and also not be in line with the South African Revenue Services. So we start off with CIPC is where we open our companies, and we have to have all your details. And from there, we move into the next step, which is the SARS step. They actually go hand in hand. And after that, we add the bank account to it as well. Yes. So we put the portfolio for you together as the accountants of the artist, and we manage the portfolio for you as well. So I'll go back and emphasize again on the legal representatives and the professional services that as a young artist or upcoming artist, you need to have a structure or a plan as to how you want to execute your plan as well.
That's very important. I remember that's what happened to me. For a good amount of my career, I was getting paid in my personal bank account before I knew how it worked. So before I opened a business, so all the money used to come to me, and I used to ball out. Like I used to be like, "Yo, I'm so rich, man! I'm killing it." And then I opened a business, and then I had an accountant, which is where I met my accountant. So it's very important to start a company, have an accountant, have a lawyer, so that also when you make these decisions that you want to make, you go according to the South African law. So any cent that comes out of your account, you need to be able to explain what it was for. That's why it's so important to have invoices and receipts and stuff like that. So we'd like to move on to